Welcome to Community Spotlight. I'm Kim, and I'm excited. So while we were waiting, I was able to have my own musical serenade almost here because I was able to listen to some wonderful music from our artist, Mr. Calvin Davis. Junior.
Yeah.
Okay, Junior. Don't want to leave the Junior out.
Mm-hmm.
So he's very talented now. You know, I've been talking to him and I could hear a little of his story, but after hearing his music and the lyrics he's writing are amazing. So hi, welcome to our show, and thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. So go ahead, tell me a little bit about yourself. What you want everybody to know today.
I'm born and raised in Brooklyn.
Okay.
New York, East New York section of Brooklyn. I moved to Delaware in 2013.
Okay.
My mother lives here in Delaware, and I decided to leave the big city. Too many people.
Yeah.
Plus, I was dealing with being diagnosed with a mental impairment.
Mm-hmm.
And I came here to get better. And my mother said that I should stay in one place because I was moving around a lot. And so she said I need to come here, stay with one doctor, get with one plan, so I can get better.
Mm-hmm.
I can heal. I came in 2013, and I was with Connections. Mm-hmm. I joined Connections team, and Connections provided me a support team for my to meet my needs.
Okay. So let me go back a little bit. Yes. So when did you know that you had the mental impairment? When did you start to feel uneasy, or what led you to knowing?
When I was living in Atlanta, working for the airline, Delta Airlines, one day what led up to it, something triggered it. I had started recently smoking marijuana when I was 30, and someone must have laced it with something. And the night before, I remember not feeling myself. Then the next morning, I woke up remembering that I just thought in my mind that I was Osama bin Laden.
Really? Wow.
And that I was the reason why the Trade Center went down, and that the FBI and CIA were after me. I immediately jumped out of my bed and ran outside like I was half naked, running outside in my pajamas, no shirt on, no shoes, and blacked out, and woke up and laid out in the middle of the street.
Wow.
With cops and firemen and the residents in the neighborhood surrounding me. I was sent to the crisis center where they put me on the steel table and strapped me down and injected me with Haldol, which was an experience because instead of calming me down, they said I was experiencing mania.
Wow.
Instead of calming me down, the mania down, it really added to it. And I remember screaming on the table, like, get me off of here, let me go. This was in a time where they were still restraining people.
Right, that sounds scary.
My first time.
Right,
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So, after that experience, that led to other episodes, and this happened like right after 9/11.
Okay.
So this was the first episode happened in 2002.
But how old were you then?
32.
32.
I'm 54 now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I've been dealing with this impairment for 23 years. So
wow. So you had no signs, nothing, anything when you were younger, just after?
When I was young, I was abused.
Okay.
I was in the foster home and was abused physically and sexually and emotionally.
Wow.
For 5 years, and then my grandparents came and got me out, and then I was molested by the next door neighbor of my grandparents as well. So I think all that and not being acknowledged and addressed at an early age kind of had its toll on me when I grew up.
Because you were just holding it all in, holding it all
repressed,
in.
Repressed. emotions.
Wow, that's a lot there, even before coming through. And so then once it happened, it just started affecting you.
Yeah, the first episode led to other episodes, and I would find myself blacking out. And the thing about it is that I was aware of, there was times I was aware that I was out, but I could not control my body movements. Like,
wow.
I would be walking in the middle of the street and can't control it.
Wow.
And know that I'm walking in the middle of the street, but I'm like, my body's doing something that my mind's not telling this to do. And I almost got hit by a cop car that day.
Wow.
And they took me to Rockford immediately after that. That was here in Delaware.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. So the experiences, so again, I mean, being strapped to a table and all, I mean, it just doesn't seem real in the world, you know what I mean? Because you see that in old movies, I don't really think of it as something
that's happening now today.
Yeah.
Well, here in Delaware, my first visit was to Rockford Center. I had been going to them from 2002 to 2017. For 15 years, I've been in and out of that institution, and I've seen them at their worst.
Really?
And the thing about it is, everything's on video camera.
Wow.
That video's all in there.
And nobody changes anything, huh?
No.
Wow.
Like, there's
crazy.
been times where I was put in quiet rooms, restrained physically, strapped, sequestered, even abused physically by a staff member, pushed by a staff member, trying to de-escalate a situation. He escalated it by pushing me. And so, yeah, these things still were going on. Even, I don't know if they're still going on today, but I know that everything is not what it seems in those places.
Wow. That's so sad, right? Like, you're going for help. Yeah.
It's like you're going in for help and they're re-traumatizing you. Yeah.
Yeah, so it makes it hard. So now, how about like medications? Do they give you medications? How does all of that part work?
In my experience, like, the medication that my doctor prescribed, we were not allowed to take when I was there. They said that they would have to prescribe the medication, and their doctors would have to do that. I don't know how they're doing it now, but that was insane to me. Like, having critical, life-threatening drugs that I took, and they weren't giving me access to it.
Well, that sounds really, that's different, right?
It made no sense at all. And then the medication that they do give you is to chemically restrain you and to shut you up.
Oh, really? Wow. So that's all. That seems to be their major concern.
Chemically restraining you. I was in Meadowwood one time, and I almost OD'd because they gave me too much medication.
Wow.
They had to rush me out of Meadowwood to Christiana, pump my stomach because of a sedative ingestion.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you had a lot of experiences. Okay, so when did you start writing? When did you start being able to release some of that? Because that has to be a release in that, because it's just amazing, so.
Thank you. Well, I started writing at 17.
Really?
Yeah, I wrote my first song, Forever Yours, about my first love. And been writing and singing ever since. Joined the group when I was 22. Black male. It was 5 of us, 5 males, and we called ourselves Black male. Then we down 2 members left, and it was 3 of us. We turned to DMD. Then we were able to open for celebrity acts, P. Diddy being one of them. Yeah, that was the time. And we were going places. We were offered a recording contract by Job Records, which I turned down at the time because I didn't really like the terms of the deal.
Okay, that's smart.
People called me crazy, but now looking back in hindsight, if I've signed that contract, I probably would have been identified.
Yeah. See, so
Allegedly.
something led you, something,
Allegedly.
whatever, something led you, and that's what when you get a gut instinct, you should follow your gut. Like your gut is telling you, your brain is connected, so it's saying no. Say no. Yeah.
But now writing now for me, I never really wrote for money. Or
It seems like
for
you
money.
wrote to release or to help you treat yourself. Yeah.
Express what I'm feeling and what's going on the inside of me, and that, I think for every artist, that's what that experience should be like. But some artists, I guess, are just writing to get money.
Right. Well, your writing is just amazing. It really is. It's nice when because it's 3 of us here, and each of us are like, no, that's for me, that's for me, that's for me.
Yeah, right.
So when your music can touch so many people, it's real. So it is great. So keep writing, definitely keep writing. So tell me about Pathway.
Pathway's Community Resource Group is the idea of having a one-stop shop, basically. You come here, you get access to all the services needed for your situation. For me, when I was going through or navigating through the mental health care system, I had no one to help me. I knew nothing about what was going on, and I had no one to guide me as to what would work best for me. Imagine having someone there with you from the beginning.
Right, yes.
Like a care agent or a recovery specialist, someone who's there and have experienced it and have overcome it and can help you do the same thing, help you navigate and be kind of like your right hand, man.
That would be, it's just very helpful, as you're saying, because it has to be confusing, overwhelming, and just to have feeling like a partner, somebody who's gonna, be my advocate, I think would be great. Now, where is Pathways?
Well, we're still in the beginning stages of forming it. Right now, I was doing it. We're planning a fundraiser to get it up and running. I'm becoming what we call a change agent. Network Delaware is training me to become a change agent, so I'm getting the skills necessary to make this Pathways a reality. Good. So I'm in the stages of building it up. Right now, we're about to have we had our first fundraiser last October that your producer came to, and we're having another one. Hopefully, we're planning it now. We're hoping to have it for Juneteenth.
Oh, good. Yeah, that would be
around
nice.
that time.
Yeah.
And it's going to be a showcase of the bands.
Okay.
High school and college.
Oh, that sounds real nice. So you have to keep us informed, come back and advertise it when you're about to do it so we can get support. Because I think this is a great time. People are really trying to support each other, and mental health is real.
Right.
And people are starting to become aware more that it is okay to acknowledge. Because before, it was such a long time, nobody ever wanted to acknowledge that there could be anything in even talking to somebody, nobody wanted to do that. So having a place where someone could feel safe to come even say, hey, I wonder if, and it sounds like a good thing. It's a really good thing.
I envision, how you walk into these places and you see the same old thing. Yeah. Imagine being traumatized and walking into a bright area and just full of people and full of confusion. Right. No. Pathways is going to be a different environment. It's going to be mood lights when you walk in. It's going to be an intimate setting with certain therapeutic music playing and people welcoming you as you come in. It's not going to be your normal where you come and do business. Right. And that's so important because people forget that your first impression is real. Exactly. And when you walk into those places, as you're sharing, with the lights, with the people, with the hustle bustle and all of that stuff is kind of overwhelming, to say the least, as it happens. So your description of what it would be
it makes you feel rested, relaxed, like, okay, this is a safe place.
Yeah.
And that's what you want to feel, safe.
That's the first thing.
And loved. And so sometimes you're right. When you go somebody's behind the desk and they're like, sit, take a seat, get a number. You know what I mean? It's
so impersonal.
It's not right. So it's not intimate enough to make you feel safe and like you want to proceed, because you feel if you're already unsure, to have, you know, someplace where you're not welcomed and embraced has to be even harder when you go into a place like that. So I like that. So, you know, we're going to try to support you for sure.
Thank you.
And make sure that you're able to do that. Now, and, you know, we here just want to be honest and real with people. So you're going to share some of your experiences that you've had with different agencies and tell us what kind of led you to know that we need to do better.
Well, being in and out of hospitals a lot with Rockford, Meadowwood, one thing I noticed is that they're shifting doctors between both institutions. Why? It's like, why doctors going from Rockford to Meadowwood, back to Rockford, back to Meadowwood? Why is the CEO of Meadowwood now the CEO of Rockford? What's really going on behind the scenes? Because this concerns me. These doctors have our records, and the records have information. The information goes on and on. Who's reading our charts? Who has our information? What are they really doing with this? My experience in these institutions have not been positive. I filed several grievances with Meadowwood and Rockford, and to this day, none of them have been investigated.
Wow.
Why is that?
Yeah, that's crazy.
Over a dozen.
Yeah, that's terrible. Something should definitely be done. And there's no recourse, nothing that can happen now. Wow, we'll have to look into that too, right? Yes, to say, hey, how should this be handled? Because it has to be frustrating, again, to feel like your voice isn't heard and doesn't matter.
When you're in a state of mind, you think that people are conspiring against you and want to do you wrong, and then you file a grievance and they don't investigate it. Kind of feeds into the thought.
Right, yeah, for sure.
Like they really are conspiring. If they weren't.
So nobody ever calls back, nobody says, hey, how do you feel? Nothing. No kind of, okay. So we know that they need help, and Pathways will never do that once we get our Pathways things rolling.
That's right.
We're going to always find a way to have things investigated, because there's a concern.
Very big concern.
And how people feel, how people are treated, if their life is improving with these services, because that's basically what should happen. It's supposed to make it easier, right?
Yeah. But, you know, I've had the experience of being in 4 different states with and over a dozen different mental health institutions within those 4 states: New York, New Jersey, Delaware, and Georgia. And each experience has been harrowing. And it doesn't matter which state it was in. I literally had to fight for my life to get out of these places. They tried to keep me in there involuntarily. I'll go involuntarily. Then they'll put me on involuntarily 72 hours and then keep me as long as my insurance kept being approved.
Okay.
And that is financial exploitation.
Okay.
So I've been financially exploited. I've been experimented on, because that's what they do. They keep trying different meds until they see what works for you. But in the end, it's like I had no say-so, because I wasn't in my right mind to even know what they were doing, and then they have to give you informed consent. But if you don't know what's going on, how can they give you informed consent?
Yeah, that doesn't make sense at all, right?
They gave me drugs without my knowledge, and in Rockford, they gave me some Ativan, a hypnotic drug that you need informed consent, and I wasn't well enough for them to have informed consent.
So that's
it's like,
really
why did they give it to me?
Something that we should make sure all our viewers understand. You need perhaps a medical power of attorney or something so that you can have that person speak up for you. So it's really important. So hopefully we'll get this, that it's okay to have someone that you trust and care become your medical power of attorney, so that in times where you may not be able to make informed decisions,
right.
that you and your power of attorney have discussed these things. This is what you do want, this is what you don't want. And some of those forms are really specific, where you can go ahead and say what you want, what you don't want, and that person is always going to carry out your wishes, and not their own, but it's someone looking out for you.
Yes.
So hopefully people who are listening, who may have had sort of just getting mental health treatment, have someone as a medical power of attorney. So in cases where you aren't yourself at that particular time, someone is there to be there for you.
Yes.
And do that, so that you don't have to feel that, hey, they're just that. Like, it's terrible to feel that you were experimented on. That's not a good feeling at all.
That's how a lot of us feel in this environment and setting, because it's called self-determination. We don't have that. And if you get sick and you get with cancer, you have a choice. The doctor gives you a choice of which procedures you want to go through. In mental health, you don't have that.
Wow.
It's like they determine for you based off of their information that they have. This is what's best for you. This is what we're going to do. No.
Right.
And that's when I had gotten to the point where I got tired of being given lithium, Zyprexa, Klonopin, Zyprexa, Thorazine, Haldol. I mean, it goes all over. I was just being, let's just try this. Oh, no, well, that's not working. Let's try this. No, I had to take back control. And so I don't want that. I'm not going to take, this is what I'll do. This is what I'll take. And the last time I told him that, I've been taking the same drug for the past 8 years, and I've been good.
And that's it.
And it's a very low dosage.
See, that's good.
I didn't need to be highly medicated, like a lot of them are.
Wow.
A lot of clients at Connections and Horizon House, all they do is get medicated. Well, I'm just going to speak for Connections, because that's what I'm a client of. The clients at Connections, Connexio Care, whatever you want to call them, are medicated and they get no therapy. And I'm a staunch supporter of, you cannot medicate someone and not give them therapy. They need to process their thoughts. We need to be able to process our thoughts. These psychotropic drugs affect our thought process, which is already affected by the impairment. So y'all giving us drugs on top of the impairment. We need to be able to process.
Wow. Yes, I agree.
Medication takes care of the symptoms or treats the symptoms, but therapy treats the cause.
Yeah, definitely. Yes. And that's what you want to do. Get to the root. Get to the cause.
Get to the root.
Get to the cause, so that then there's some more understanding, right? Yeah. And then you feel whole. You can start to understand, because, when you don't know what's going on with anything. But, I think that's medication in the world, period. I think that society is becoming too accustomed to either self-diagnosing, because now everything's on TV, so you decide, or you don't even do whatever, or just listening to what, I guess, the pharmaceutical companies say, because your doctors just know what the pharmaceutical people came in and told them. I'm sure it's not always, but I really believe it's overdone, where we're not always looking at the side effects, we're not always looking at what happens when we combine different drugs, what effect is it having on your kidney, your liver, what are we doing with all of those things? I think that it's all important, and we do have to start to take control and say, hey, I want to understand this more. Let me process what's happening here. And looking at the different studies, I just saw something the other day that said they tested patients with high blood pressure, I believe it was, and people who were on statins, and it really wasn't a difference in the LDL. Whether 50% of the people, it did affect, 50% of the people, it didn't affect. So there was no difference, and you're taking this medication, and it really may not be doing much for you. So why medicate yourself if it's just to feed the pharmaceutical company, you know? So we have to truly understand. So I think that understanding is real. And then understanding that we're changing. So perhaps medication that you needed originally, you no longer need it. And so, you know, maybe that's even a part of it. So they see, you kind of look at a record or you kind of look at a chart and perhaps not seeing a person anymore because you're looking at a chart.
Kind of like that's what a lot of people have become, just numbers and statistics. But I want to get this in there before
please do anything.
There was an instance on September 8th, 2017, and this was like the last time I had an episode, but it led to me getting in a lot of trouble with the law. September 8th, 2017, they said I went, the day before that, I was already not myself. I went into Connections that day. They knew something was wrong with me. Even they told me I seemed bizarre that day. My behavior was bizarre that day. After the fact, they never took me in, took me to the side. They saw I was acting bizarre and did nothing. I remember crossing over to Porter Street, Porter State Service Center, and there was a white woman who was homeless. I told her she could come stay home with me. Took her back to my place, Old Baltimore Pike. You know I wasn't well. A black man taking a white woman home. A stranger at that.
Right.
Wasn't well. And I remember she packed I had a weed pipe, and she packed something, I don't know, I thought it was marijuana. It must have been something else because I smoked it. And then the next morning, I woke up thinking I had to save the children. And it was a school day, and there was a daycare center right at the bottom, at the end of my property complex. Happy Kids Academy. This was all over the news. I went there that day, and I remember certain aspects of that day. I rang the buzzer. They asked who was it. I said my name, and they buzzed me in.
Wow.
Yeah, that's number one. So I'm standing there waiting for them to come to the front door, and I look to the right, and I see a clipboard. I signed my name. I remember doing that.
Okay.
Then I'm standing there waiting. Then I hear kids crying. They said, we'll be there. I hear kids crying in the back. So I go to the back. I see like 2 toddlers on the floor, unattended, with no shirt on, soiled diapers, crying. And that's when the white woman came up and said, who are you? I said, who are you, and why aren't you here attending to these? I was angry because I saw kids there, and they were supposed to be a daycare center, and they were. And she said something, and she went in the office, got on the phone. I remember going to the office with her, and I asked her for the phone, and I gave my name. I said, this is Calvin Davis, Jr., who is this? No one said nothing, and that's when I blacked out. They said that I had ran. Their version of the story was, I rang the bell, and they opened the door, buzzed me in, and as they opened the door, I bashed, pushed my way through, ran back, picked up the kids, and tried to run out. That's their version. So I'm like, okay. What ended up happening was I was facing 30 years.
Wow.
For 9 charges, 5 felonies, and 4 misdemeanors. 2 of the most serious was second-degree kidnapping.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah. Like I said, I thought I had to save those kids. 3 weeks later, after my incident, they found out that she was abusing those kids. She fractured a kid's fibula.
Wow.
Putting them to sleep intentionally. Like, go to sleep, go to sleep. Yeah.
Wow.
The same woman who they said that I offensively touched or hit or something is the same woman who was abusing those kids.
Wow.
So it's like, at the trial, I pled guilty with mental defect. And I told my lawyer my series of what happened. And I said, he didn't really fight anything. He didn't. I said, well, what about the cameras? Where are the cameras? They said it wasn't operating that day.
Isn't that awful?
you got a whole daycare center and the cameras aren't working. What about security for the kids? Like, but conveniently it wasn't
Right.
working.
Yeah. Isn't that awful?
So my account of the story is totally is different from their account of the story. I ended up getting able to be in the mental health court program, which is what I'm trying to. I'm on the BHC, Behavioral Health Consortium, Corrections and Law Enforcement Committee, and I have a presentation at the next meeting to present mental health court as a viable option for felons with mental impairments.
Okay, yes.
It worked for me. It worked for my friend Tehran Adlam, who was facing attempted murder charges. He doesn't mind me telling his story. And now he's fought his way back and is now in med school.
Wow.
He did 4 years at DSU, got his bachelor's degree in biology. And now he's pursuing becoming a medical doctor.
That is amazing.
Totally turned his life around. I turned my life around. My buddy Liam turned his life around. It's like, it's a viable option for people. It's a diversion, as you know, for people who've been diagnosed with serious mental impairment and did something because of that impairment, not because they're natural criminal or naturally violent or anything. Yeah, so.
Yeah, so definitely should be looked into, because if you're not in your right state, how can they judge you as if you were? Yeah,
that's just like, I didn't know I was committing a crime when I was committing it because I was in my right mind.
Right.
So how can you charge me for that?
Right. So now let's get back to the other part of it. What is it that people like a Connections or whatever they are now? What is the proper protocol when they see someone who maybe seem disoriented or not themselves? What should have been that first step?
Well, when you de-escalate, they tased me. The cops tased me that day and beat me with a baton. I was unarmed. And even though what I did seemed strange and everything, but I was unarmed. They tased me twice. That didn't do anything. Then they took out the baton and just beat me. And I didn't think that was necessary. And then I was charged with assault on the officer because when he tased me, I kind of like fell towards him and he moved back to avoid me, I guess, coming towards him, and he fell on the curb. Because he fell on the curb avoiding me, I assaulted him.
Wow.
So, that kind of blew my mind. I mean, I'm unarmed. I have guns, tasers, batons, wooden and steel. They used a steel one on me. And so, and here I am unarmed, and I'm the one being charged with assault against the officer.
Wow. So typically, let's say if somebody sees that you're disoriented in one of those facilities, do they call? Is there do they take you to a doctor? Do they check on your medication? Like, who monitors the medication? How do we know what's going on?
In the hospital, when I'm actually an inpatient.
If you're not an inpatient, you haven't been there. If you're out, how do we know? Right, so you're at Connections. How do we know that you have been taking your medication? Does anybody help with medication, or how does that work?
Well, the nurse comes by. That's one thing they're consistent with. They don't have a social worker or a case manager or anything else, but they make sure you get your meds every week.
Okay.
And my med comes every Wednesday. They give me a bag, and I get an injection once a month.
Okay.
And the injection is something I agree to. It's a low dosage. It's Abilify. I have no problem saying that, and that works for me.
Good. Okay.
Yeah.
That's good. So that's good to know that
de-escalating a situation is like basically just talking to someone, seeing where they're at, trying to get to understand where their frame of thinking is, what their frame of thinking is.
Okay. So what are some ways that you want to see improvement? What are some places and things that you think should happen?
Well, I mean, first, I think we need policy reform, especially around mental health reform. The money where the opioid fund, you know, I'm on the committee that distributes that
Oh,
money.
okay,
So
okay.
that money is not reaching the people that need it the most, and I think, you know, we need to follow the paper trail and make sure that the funds are getting to the people who need them. It's a lot of money that's not reaching people with critical needs, and something's going on with it.
Something's going on. Well, we have to. So that's one of your things. You think that it has to be just a better tracking of where the money's going and how it's received, who it's affecting, who's actually improving, based on the money that's there. Okay, that makes a lot of sense because, you know, and it can always happen with that. It's like a lot of paperwork. It's a lot of people in between where maybe it should be a more direct route that could actually help people, because a lot of people get jobs sometimes, right?
Exactly. You know, actually, I'm going to take it a little further. It starts with family.
Okay.
It takes a village to raise a child. And
it does.
It doesn't matter how young you are or how old you are, you still need a family, a village to help you.
You do.
You know, and support you. And we as a people, we shun therapy, getting help,
right,
for the issues that we have that are unresolved. It's, I think someone called it post-traumatic slave disorder syndrome.
Okay.
Like, we have our DNA has the pain and trauma of our ancestors, and we don't address it, and we don't know that it affects us and affects our family dynamic. We have to go back to family. Yeah. Because I tell you, my family, we're dysfunctional. I love them, we love each other, but we need help, and we're not gonna get the help from each other. We have to go outside to get that help. A therapist is the best solution, because they're strangers and they have nothing to gain from anything that you tell them. Whereas family members, they can use it against you and do this and do that. But you go to a therapist and they can resolve your issues unbiased. They're unbiased. We are biased when it comes to our family. Right. We have assumptions and biases and feelings and attitudes towards each other. And the only way we can sift through that is to get someone outside to help us sort through.
So I agree with that. Issues. I think that there should be, just like we have to have a yearly single medical checkup, we should have to have a family checkup. I think that makes good sense, doesn't it? Yeah. Because it does happen so often. And I think that one of the other things is for people who don't have family, you know, there's still ways to choose your family. Like, you choose your circle. You find people that become your family. Because sometimes your family is just saying, you know, they don't always treat you like family.
Is your biggest trigger. Right.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely, for sure. Yeah. Because we have such expectations. You know, we want to be loved a certain way because we've seen it somewhere. And so that's what we're expecting. And so then we probably do have triggers when it doesn't happen that way. And so then we got to figure it all out there. So I agree. I think okay, everybody, Calvin and I get credit for this.
Right? I think we helping someone.
Yes. We want family therapy should be at least twice a year. Yes. You know, where let's just check in and see what's going on with the whole core of the family, because so many times we believe something is normal because we grew up with it, where it may not be. You know, it may be not as typical as it is. And so, and I guess we can see that even in some place where, so I don't use a lot of profanity, so I'm going to be biased here. Okay. But, you know, you grow up in a household where there's a lot of screaming, hollering, whatever, so then that's naturally with you, either it's one way or the other. Yeah, so that's like normal in some places. But, you know, in my house, if you my kids had to go to a house like that, they like, wow, you know, what's happening here? Because that's just not what they're accustomed to. But because, you get accustomed to that, you feel like this is the best way to communicate, where maybe we have to learn other communication methods and things like that. So I agree. Like, we have to expose people to more so that they can understand. And, this is a thing for me now, too, with even understanding abuse, because there are all kinds of abuse. And sometimes we feel we should hide abuse. The victim is always the one who feels like they can't say anything. You experience that yourself. So we have to have a way of knowing mental as well as physical abuse as it goes. So hopefully we can help younger people see sooner what abuse looks like, or what is okay, what isn't okay, when you should, this is good talk, this is not. So let's help people become more aware.
Right.
And as we all become more aware, maybe we can kind of keep each other in check a little bit, so we can learn to love. Okay, so my thing is all about love all the time.
Absolutely.
So I really think that everything is about love and experiencing love. And I always share, if you'll know when you're loved, because it feels like love. So nobody has to tell you they love you, because you can feel when you're loved. So love is always an action word for me.
I always say, if you love me, I want to see it. I don't want you to say it.
That's it.
Yeah.
Let's make it.
Love in action.
That's it. Every day. And kind words.
Kind words.
It's okay to be kind, or to think of another way to say things sometimes. Sometimes we're a little, we can be truthful, but we can still be kind. So we got to figure out how to mesh the two.
I always say, everything doesn't require a response.
Right,
So if you see something or hear something that you don't like, you don't have to respond to it.
You don't have to respond to it.
If your response is not going to be nice.
Right, exactly.
Anything nice. So everything doesn't require a response. And if you do respond, think of three things. Is it kind? Is it beneficial? And I forget the third one, but you have to be mindful.
Right, definitely.
It's about being mindful and cognizant of what you're doing, and how you're affecting who you're affecting.
Right.
And I've learned all that with therapy. Therapy has healed me, or is healing me. There was a time I couldn't talk. I couldn't express myself. I couldn't articulate my thoughts. I was like a zombie.
Wow.
Literally, my mother could tell you, she saw me at my worst, and now it's a total 360.
Here you are, able to help other people, right? Yeah, see that?
I am a miracle.
Yeah.
I am a miracle, and I thank God for standing by me through thick and thin.
Yes, so that you can even deliver this message, because the message is important. Sometimes people think they're alone. They feel like they're the only person with something else. So knowing that there are people who may be experiencing something similar kind of gives you comfort to say, okay, it's not only me. This is real. Sometimes we don't know if it's real. Like, this is real. So I think that your courage in sharing your story is appreciated.
Thank you.
Thanks to your friends who allow you to share their story, because everything's inspirational. When we hear good things happening to people, we hear about recovery, we know that something better can come from even something that may seem not so good at one spot. Like you said, you were in a zombie space, and look at you now. So that there is hope and there is promise. And we all need to know that. We all need to be prepared and loving each other and helping each other through, and doing it, the best that we can, understanding that you're not a therapist at some point, so we ain't going to say everybody's a therapist so that they can tell you what it is. Go to a real therapist. Go to a therapist, someone who's been trained. You and everybody, and a lot of times with people of color, especially African Americans here, we're gonna just go to church. Well, can your minister prescribe you medicine? Right. No. So perhaps your minister can do everything. So perhaps we need different specialists for different situations. So hopefully people can understand that specialists are needed. So you can get some help here and there. You can, look to see what's what. But ultimately, perhaps you need to take a step further and know that it's okay. It's cool.
It is.
Yeah, it's cool because you may then progress sometimes. And I think the other thing that I've learned from this, don't just smoke something everybody gave you.
No,
If y'all didn't get that,
no.
that's all
That
you
is
get is
important.
smoke and
I
stuff
wanna
like
say,
woo.
any drug you take on the street, you don't know what you're getting.
That's it, yeah.
And it's a scary feeling.
Yeah, so that seems to be a lot there as well. I think identifying triggers, I think is what I get from this as well. And knowing that your trigger is something that gets your situation started. Like it instigates whatever is going on. So people who don't understand what it might be, but yeah, so learning yourself, I think it's really important to just take time.
Know thyself, till thine own self be true.
To thine own self be true. And it's cool. Like who you are is who you are. You know?
And that's what people don't accept.
Yeah.
Because they're looking for acceptance from other people. And if they're not getting that, then they don't accept themselves. But acceptance, my father taught me that the acceptance of man does not determine who I am, and that don't let the world define you. Define yourself.
Right.
So that's what I'm doing today.
Yes.
I'm defining who I am.
And we appreciate you. And that's it. And we appreciate authenticity. I think when you're authentically yourself, it's like okay.
Yeah.
You know that I'm cool with it, and not that you're not trying to improve, because we're always trying to get better. We're just acknowledging where we are. Instead of, because some people kind of go through in a pretense, you know what I mean? Let me make somebody think I'm this when I'm really that, you know? So just be you. It's cool. Yes. Especially if you like the you that you are. You shouldn't have to hide it.
That's true.
Yeah, so if you're improving and you like you, then,
That's
it's
important.
okay. Yeah.
Most people don't like who they are.
Yeah, so you got to learn to love yourself, and then accept yourself, love yourself, and then work through it. Yeah, all the time.
Hug on yourself.
That's
love
it.
On yourself. Self-love, self-care, self-control. I mean, all that goes together.
Comes together. Yeah, and it's so important, and it makes you free. It's really free. It is really. It's just a great feeling.
Yes.
And it's okay, because sometimes people think it's not okay. You got to love you first. So it's okay to love you too. You can love everybody. I know for me, I love all the kids. And, I had to take time to love Kim.
That's right.
So,
That's right.
So
Good
loving Kim becomes important as well. So yeah, now I'm going to travel a little bit, have some fun, and do all kinds of things that I hadn't done before. So that's nice too, exposure, and even little things. So like I said, I just did a cold plunge. What?
Oh, wow.
Crazy, but I wanted to do it, so I did it. And,
Good for you.
Yeah.
Good for you.
And it wasn't that bad.
Yeah.
It wasn't that bad.
I think that's good. You take a chance to do something that you normally wouldn't do.
Yeah. So, and again, it resets you. Yeah. So I do a lot of things that aren't typical, but that's okay.
That's all right.
That's Kim. I love Kim for Kim.
That's
so,
right. That's right.
That's just let me be me.
That's right.
All right. So, again, so if someone wants to contribute or help you with Pathways, how can we tell them to help you?
Well, I'm on Instagram, I'm on Facebook, but my Facebook name is Nehemiah Yisrael. And you can always email me.
Okay, what's your email?
My name backwards, Nivlac, Nivlac, 1123@gmail.com.
All right. Well, I thank you so much for coming, for sharing, for listening, for everything. I applaud everything that you're doing. I pray that you continue to write and share music, because it's amazing as well.
Thank you.
And hopefully, definitely, you're going to hear some of his music throughout this broadcast.
Yes,
all right?
Thank you.
All right. All right, everybody. We'll see you next time. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Kim, and I am a part of the Congo Funeral Home team. My part is to help people pre-plan their funerals. Congo Funeral Home has been serving the community for many years, and now I find myself being able to say that I have helped people pre-plan funerals for 30 years. I know I'm only 34, right? How can this be? But I have been helping the community pre-plan young, more mature, brothers, sisters, aunts, uncles, every single person can pre-plan their funeral. And you can do it with a company that you know, that you trust, that's been here supporting you for many years. Many times families come in and they're having some difficulty, and I feel bad because I need to get to these places to help people understand that you can just take your time, make easy, low monthly payments, and not have the hardship at the time of death. So sometimes when someone passes, the pain is just overwhelming, and it's intensified by the fact that we have to figure out how we're going to pay. Well, we at Congo Funeral Home want to support you in every way possible, also by giving you options to prepay your funeral. There are no health questions that would disqualify you. There's no amount of money. We will work it out so that it happens for you. So please call me, 302-652-8887 or 218-8632. And I want you to know that I'm available to come talk to your church group, your community group, just your family if you like, because it's important that we get this information out to as many people as possible so we can help everyone feel the peace that some of us feel once we know that we're securely covered. So please give me a call and I will help.